You know, some stories from colonial India, they aren't just history. They're whispers, dark tales of power, resentment, and ultimately revenge. Tonight, we're opening a case file on one of those stories, a chilling true crime account of a man who thought he held an entire region in his hand, right before it all slipped away.
And this is the real question at the heart of it all, isn't it? What pushes ordinary men to do the unthinkable? It's a question of motive, of desperation, and of a wound so deep that violence feels like the only answer. We're about to find out what happens when the powerful push the powerless just a little too far. To get to the bottom of this, we have to travel back in time, to a single evening, a moment where everything changed. The air was still, but a storm was brewing just beneath the surface. The date is September 11th, 1855. Just picture it. A warm, quiet night in Calicut, the kind of night where the city just settles into a peaceful silence, completely unaware of the plot that's about to shatter that calm forever. And our focus narrows to this place, the Grand West Hill Bungalow. It's the home of the most influential man in the entire region. And tonight, he's sitting there all alone, surrounded by all the symbols of his power, but totally isolated. And here's the real kicker. That powerful man, feeling safe and secure in his own home, had absolutely no idea that in just a few short moments, his life would be over. All right, so who was this man, Henry Valentine Conolly? And why on earth was he the target of such a brutal plot? You see, to really understand the murder, we have to first understand the man. Well, he was a classic product of the British establishment. Born in London, educated at a top school, he rose through the ranks of the Madras civil service pretty fast. By 1855, he was the district collector of Malabar, and his power was immense. He wasn't just some pencil pusher. He was the local face of the East India Company. He literally controlled the land, the forests, the lives of the people. And this is what's so fascinating about Conolly. He really had two sides to him. On one hand, you've got the builder. This guy started one of India's first big teak plantations. He was planning this major waterway, the Colonial Canal. A real man of progress, you might think. But then, there's the other side, the ruler. He was the absolute power in the region, the living symbol of the East India Company. And in a time when tensions were already high, every single act of progress could easily be seen as just another act of control, just widening that gap between them and the local people. And it was in that role, the ruler, that Conolly made a choice that would seal his fate. See, his power had already created a lot of resentment, but one act in particular became a wound that just refused to heal. Now, to get the motive, you have to know about another man, Sayyid Fazal Pukoya Thangal. He wasn't a politician, he was a deeply beloved religious leader. To the Muslim community in Malabar, he was everything. A spiritual guide, respected and revered by thousands. And Henry Conolly saw that influence, that local loyalty, as a direct threat to British power. So he used his authority to have Sayyid Fazal exiled, forcibly removed from his home and his followers. In a place already simmering with mistrust, this was like throwing gasoline on a fire. Make no mistake, this went way beyond politics. For the people of Malabar, it was a profound insult. It felt like a personal attack on their faith, their community, their identity. It was, just as our source says, a wound that would not heal. And it was a wound that screamed for revenge. So let's see how all this anger, all this resentment boiling across the region gets focused into a single, deadly plan. A conspiracy is born. So quietly, in the small village of Couture, a secret meeting takes place. Powerful local men gather. And in the shadows of that home, the message was clear and unanimous. Henry Conolly had gone too far. A line had been crossed. A sentence was passed in that secret meeting. And now, we go back to that warm September night, and to the three men who were chosen to carry it out. And who were they? Not powerful leaders, but just ordinary guys. The Lessari Emalu, a man named Pulian Kunaththenu, who just escaped from prison, and another man known only as Haterman, a local hairdresser. Three very different men, united by one deadly mission. They made their way to the collector's bungalow. It was dark, quiet, and, shockingly, unguarded. They slipped inside. And in a swift, brutal attack, it was over. the most powerful man in Malabar, was dead. On the response from the British Empire, it was swift and it was absolutely merciless. A massive manhunt kicks off immediately. For 6 days, the killers are on the run, hiding in villages, in forests, but there's just nowhere to go. They're finally cornered at a place called Edavanapara. And listen to this. There was no arrest, no trial, no mercy. They were just shot dead right there on the spot. So, after all that, after the murder, the conspiracy, the manhunt, what's left of this story? What remains today of the man and the motives that drove his killers to such an extreme?
Well, Henry Conolly's name is literally carved into the landscape. The canal he planned, the teak forest he started, a park, memorials, his name lives on. His legacy is one of stone and water, a very tangible reminder of his time and power. But that physical legacy, it only tells one side of the story. Because every case, especially one this dark, always has two sides. There was the man who held all the power, who built things, and ruled with the full authority of an empire. And then there were the people who felt oppressed, who truly believed their faith and their dignity were under attack. The murder of Henry Conolly wasn't just a crime. It was a collision of these two worlds. And it leaves us with a final question that echoes through history. When power and grievance collide like this, where does justice truly lie?